Hi everyone, it's me Joshua from the English department, and I'm joined by a good friend James for today's interview. Hi, how are you?
Good, how are you?
I'm good. So James, can you tell us a little bit about yourself?
I'm James, I'm a Singaporean, and I came over to Taiwan first when I was an exchange student to FJU's English department back in spring 2015. I stayed here for about half a year, finished my one semester as an exchange student over here, then went back home to Singapore to complete my degree also in English back at Nanyang Technological University, which coincidentally the acronyms also stand NTU, which is also the same acronyms for National Taiwan University, rather, which it's obviously a different university. So yeah, after I completed my undergraduate studies, I decided to pursue a master's degree in translation, and I applied to a few schools in Taiwan, and I ended up enrolling in National Taiwan Normal University's Graduate Institute of Translation and Interpretation. So I went back to Taiwan again after the next year in 2016, and yeah, here I am.
So you're from Singapore, right?
Yeah.
So can you tell us what's it like in Singapore for those who have never been there? What's the weather like?
Oh, the weather is probably the first thing that hits you when you touch down in Singapore, because it's always a hot weather. We always joke that in Singapore there's two seasons, sunny and rainy. So it's either hot it's either a very hot weather or it's raining crazily. So I think for someone from Taiwan, it's probably not as bad as some of the worst days during summertime for Taiwan, but it can get pretty hot and dry in Singapore. So yeah, you can expect the sun if you were to ever visit Singapore.
So what does it mean to you to be Singaporean? Can you tell us a little bit about that?
Okay. I'll try. Obviously, it's a difficult thing to talk about in short.
That's fine, just a little bit.
Well, I think Singapore is a place where we have three major races: Chinese, Malay, and Indian. And usually we speak to each other in English, or what other countries would like to call Singlish, our version of English, with a smattering of our own local lingos and slangs and dialects involved. And the interesting thing is, no matter which race you're from, you sort of can connect to a common language, even though you may not be using words from your own mother tongue. And Singapore is a relatively young country. We'll be celebrating our 54th birthday, I think. Yeah, 54th birthday this year. Yeah, so I think in terms of when compared to other countries, we are really a fairly young country. Yeah.
So I want to know what's the difference between English and Singlish.
Well, there's definitely a marked difference between Singlish and English. I think when it comes to more formal settings, we try our best to use standard English as far as possible, because after all, it is a more serious occasion. But when we are just kicking back, having fun, being casual way of speaking with each other among Singaporeans, we tend to use Singlish, which is much more colloquial. English is definitely something that is sort of like the standard when we are, say for example, teachers, they definitely use proper English as far as possible when they teach, and Singlish is not encouraged academically, because we sort of realize and understand that Singlish is something that probably only Singaporeans will be able to understand clearly, and when we use Singlish, it will be very hard for foreigners to try to understand what we're trying to say.
Can you give us some examples of Singlish?
Okay, like there's a term in Singapore when sometimes we say something, oh, this is so shiok. Shiok. Yeah. So I mean, shiok is sort of like a blanket term to convey some sort of good feelings. So like for example, when we eat something that's delicious, we will say, wow, this plate of noodles so shiok. Or when we are having a good time, or like. When we say, for example, if we are in a hot tub, I say, wow, this feeling is so shook.
It feels good.
Yeah, it feels good. So it's like a sort of like a very generic term to convey how happy or how good it feels to be either eating something or experiencing something. So that's a very Singlish term to say. And I think it's something that foreigners will be very hard for foreigners to understand when we say, oh, this is so shook, or when we use other aspects of Singlish. So when we speak to foreigners, we are always very careful and to not use as much Singlish, and to sort of tone down on the Singlish aspects of our conversation. So yeah.
Yeah, that's interesting. Can I say this interview is so short?
If you're having a good time, sure.
Okay.